So we're gonna do a little show tonight on something that's really big right now. It's been big since about 5 years now. Uh, quantum mechanics, quantum entanglement, how it relates to the universe, and the uh, amazing possibility that there's the atomic structure of something here on this planet communicates to the atomic structure of something on the other side of the universe. That's quantum entanglement. Um, Now, you may say far fetched or this malarkey or whatever. No, let me tell you, the people that came up with this is people like Einstein, Hawking. Um, so Newton, and so there's something to it. You know. Now I know this other stuff where people add on with the spirituality or religion type stuff. Where the universe itself is something divine or heaven's over there. Whatever whatever people believe after that's fine. I'm not pushing anything on that side. But from a physics perspective, to sit down and think that time there is no such thing as time, because there's an infinite number of universes that you're doing everything on. It's constantly going, every single one of them, and there's an infinite amount of universes, because everything that you do, there's a universe where that happens, and we're jumping back and forth, and so it's not time. It's an ongoing universe that infinite amount, hundreds, billions, trillions, whatever, so you can try to comprehend it. Every damn possibility is by theory, in this quantum entanglement, in these parallel universes. So no time. Time was what I'm going to say here. Now, I wrote this paper. I'm going to have a voice to text thing read it, or a text to voice, and so I can break in and say some things. But quantum mechanics, quantum entanglement, it's pretty cool stuff, man. If you haven't looked at, I read the brief history of time and a lot of research on Einstein. It's really fascinating stuff. So here we go. We're gonna start.
Hell yes. Here's the next step. Darker, more dangerous, more like something a man writes after he has stared at the machinery too long and come back with a grin that makes polite society nervous. From the notes of an unapproved mind. They tell you time is real in the way a prison wall is real. Solid, unquestionable, marching in one direction, dragging you from birth to decay, from hope to memory, from first breath to last rites. They teach it to children as if it were holy. They build schools around it, economies around it, religions around it, governments around it, and then they dare to call it neutral. But I have begun to suspect that time is not a law. It is a method of containment. Quantum entanglement should have shattered the public mind. It should have forced a species-wide moment of intellectual humility.
Mm-hmm.
It should have made mankind stop pretending that reality behaves like a well-run office with folders, clocks, and clean chains of command. But that is not what happened. The revelation came, and the institutions did what institutions always do. They reduced it, softened it, translated it into language harmless enough for textbooks and timid enough for classrooms. Because institutions do not exist to liberate thought. They exist to manage its acceptable range. So let me say it plainly. I do not believe time is the river we have been told it is. I believe time is the index, the filing system, the nervous system's compromise with infinity. The interface consciousness uses to avoid being obliterated by the full simultaneous weight of reality. The human mind does not experience all things at once, not because all things are not there, but because to do so might break the fragile little narrative machine we call identity. So it selects, it arranges, it edits, it performs the cosmic equivalent of reducing a God-sized library into a single page of readable notes. And then it calls the page, My Life. That should terrify you. Not because it is bleak, but because it means nearly everything we treat as fixed may be translation rather than truth. Take the simplest possible example. The dog crosses the road. We read it in order because consciousness has been trained into sequence. But what if the dog and crosses are not truly unfolding in time? What if they are simultaneous states in a wider field, and the mind merely strings them together so they can be tolerated? What if sequence is not reality, but a coping mechanism? Then time is not absolute. Then continuity is not sacred. Then causality itself may be, at least in part, a convenience story told by frightened creatures desperate for handrails. And frightened creatures are easy to govern. That is the part no one wants to say out loud. A species convinced it lives in a narrow tunnel called time becomes obedient by default. Give a man a clock and he will build his own cage. He will fear lateness, aging, wasted years, missed opportunities, unfinished goals, declining value, and death advancing toward him like a tax collector with perfect records. He will measure himself against milestones he did not choose, standards he did not design, systems he does not control, and then thank his captors for the privilege of participating. That is not civilization. That is domestication with better branding. And fear is the electric fence. Fear of God, fear of failure, fear of social exile, fear of financial ruin, fear of being called foolish, fear of wanting too much, fear of questioning too much, fear of seeing too much. Fear is how the corridor is maintained. I have come to believe that the human brain, this impossible instrument, this receiver of staggering potential, has been culturally trained to distrust its own range, to reject any perception that exceeds the approved boundaries, to call wonder irrational, to call nonlinearity madness, to call pattern recognition delusion, to call radical possibility dangerous. Entire civilizations have been built on teaching people to mistake their conditioning for sanity, and once that conditioning takes hold, everything else falls neatly into place. Then you will accept artificial scarcity. Then you will accept dependence as adulthood. Then you will accept labor as moral obligation. Then you will accept that power must be purchased, that meaning must be earned, that truth must be certified, and that freedom is something granted conditionally by institutions that fear it. Which brings us to energy. This is where the lie becomes almost insulting. Relativity and thermodynamics point to a universe in which energy is not manufactured into existence by corporations and utilities like some benevolent gift from superior minds. Energy transforms. Energy persists. Energy changes costume, changes state, changes function, but it does not politely disappear, so bureaucracies can feel important. And yet we are taught from childhood to think of power as something owned by systems and rationed to the obedient. Coal, oil, grids, meters, bills, usage tiers, penalties, restrictions, dependence wrapped in the language of infrastructure. Meanwhile, energy saturates existence. It is in chemical bonds. It is in heat. It is in pressure. It is in combustion. It is in the atmosphere. It is in decomposition. It is in magnetism. It is in tension. It is in water.